Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. I'm genuinely so excited about what we're unpacking today. We're going to explore a fascinating, highly effective psychological concept that literally has the potential to fundamentally upgrade your functional intelligence. Now, we aren't talking about memorizing random facts or doing complex math here. We're talking about something much simpler, but way more powerful: the strategic use of silence. It's called the cognitive pause, and mastering it is an absolutely incredible tool for your brain. So let's jump right in. I want you to really think about this for a second. Think about the last time you got a super frustrating text message, or read one of those completely inflammatory comments online, or even faced a sudden stressful conflict at work. Did you fire back a response immediately? Were your fingers typing before you even fully registered what you were actually feeling? Yeah, we've all been there. This is what we call instant reaction mode. And honestly, in our modern world, it's pretty much the default setting for almost everyone. We're conditioned to ping back the exact moment we get pinged. But I really want to challenge you to reflect on that impulse today, because that immediate knee-jerk response is actually severely limiting your intellectual potential. I want you to just slow down. Just pause. Because the difference between reacting poorly and responding brilliantly often comes down to just this single number, 10. A simple, deliberate 10-second cognitive pause. Now, in the world of psychology, those 10 seconds, they aren't just a blank space. It's not just you standing there doing nothing. Those 10 seconds actually serve as a crucial bridge to help you step out of a reactive trap and step right into your full cognitive power. Section 1. Survival versus reasoning load. Okay, let's dive into this, because the psychological science behind our initial impulses is just truly eye-opening. What actually happens in our brains when we're faced with a sudden stimulus? Well, when you react instantly to something, psychology shows that your brain is essentially trapped in survival mode. You're being driven entirely by emotional impulses. And as we all know, when emotions take the wheel, you often see some pretty poor judgment. This leads to what psychologists call cognitive rigidity, that stubborn black and white thinking where you're just reacting defensively instead of actually reasoning through the problem. However, when you implement that 10-second pause, you literally shift out of survival mode and physically allow the higher thinking part of your brain to boot up. You enter what we call reasoning mode. This is where cognitive control, logic, and self-control live. People with highly functional intelligence rely on this mode. They absolutely refuse to let the survival brain make their decisions. They use the pause to ensure their reasoning brain is the one calling the shots. Section 2. Thinking about your thinking. So what exactly are you doing during those 10 seconds? Well, it brings us to this beautiful scientific concept called metacognition. By definition, metacognition is simply the act of thinking about your thinking. Let that sink in for a second. An intelligent mind doesn't just blindly trust its very first thought. First thoughts are often messy, biased, or just way too emotional, right? Instead, high-functioning individuals use the cognitive pause to take a step back and evaluate the thoughts they're currently having. They essentially act as an auditor for their own brain. And this brilliantly illustrates a highly practical checklist you can run through during your very next 10-second pause. Step 1, ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? Just entertaining that possibility instantly opens up your mental flexibility. Step 2, ask, what am I assuming right now? Like, are you jumping to conclusions based on some past baggage? And step 3, what evidence do I actually have? Are you reacting to hard facts, or are you just reacting to a story you literally just made up in your head? Running this quick 3-step diagnostic during your pause is an absolute game changer. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that by asking those questions, you achieve the ultimate benefit of metacognition. You replace ego with accuracy. You stop clinging to a wrong opinion or a bad initial reaction just because you want to win an argument or, protect your pride. Instead, you develop the mental flexibility to update your beliefs based on new evidence. You prioritize being accurate over just being loud or being the first one to respond. And guys, that is a massive marker of true intelligence. Section 3, the power of deep processing. To genuinely upgrade our intelligence, we absolutely must stop instinctively escaping into our phones the second things get quiet. When you sit alone without the noise of the world, no podcasts, no music, no endless scrolling, your brain shifts gears into deep processing mode. And this leads to what psychology calls the incubation effect. It's this amazing phenomenon where your most brilliant ideas, your deepest insights, and your most creative solutions surface only after you disconnect from constant stimulation. You know how you always seem to get your very best ideas in the shower? That is the incubation effect in action. By trading the shallow, constant consumption of content for just a little bit of quiet solitude, you stop blindly absorbing the world around you, and you finally give your brain the space to start shaping it. Section 4. Upgrading your executive function. Taking a cognitive pause actually physically alters how your brain operates over time. Why? Because choosing to pause is at its core an exercise in delaying pleasure. An instant reaction gives you this really fast, cheap dopamine hit. I mean, it feels good to snap back at someone in the heat of the moment, right? But when you resist that urge, you're actively training your brain. You're exercising your executive function system, which happens to be the exact same system your brain uses for planning, reasoning, and complex problem solving. Every single time you choose the 10-second pause over the instant reaction, you are quite literally building and strengthening the high-level neural pathways required for advanced logic. You're basically taking your brain to the gym. And the results of this mental workout, they are completely measurable. There's some incredibly compelling research showing a direct link here. People who have higher executive function scores, meaning people who are just better at delaying gratification and pausing before they act, consistently score higher on IQ tests. And even more importantly, they make significantly better decisions in the real world. Silence isn't doing nothing. It's the active construction of a smarter mind. Section 5. Protecting your cognitive bandwidth. Look, we exist in a hyper-connected world, and we really have to accept a vital realization. Constant noise is mentally expensive. I want you to really remember that phrase, mentally expensive. Self-aware, highly intelligent individuals eventually realize that living in a state of constant reaction totally drains your tank. Letting every single email, text message, or news alert demand an immediate response from you completely ruins your focus and suffocates your creativity. You only have so much cognitive bandwidth to spend each day, and giving it away to every random digital distraction is, frankly, a terrible investment. This is exactly why executing a strategic retreat through silence is so incredibly vital. By deliberately utilizing the cognitive pause and intentionally embracing periods of quiet solitude, you finally stop bleeding mental energy. You can then take that conserved bandwidth and reallocate it toward things that actually compound over time. Things like deep learning, skill building, and analytical processing. You take your focus away from the trivial and redirect it entirely toward the transformative. Ultimately, what you should take away from this explainer is a total redefinition of what it actually means to be smart. Intelligence is not a race. It's really not about how fast you think or how quickly you can fire off some clever retort. Intelligence is about how well you think. You do not need to be born a genius to upgrade your functional IQ. You simply need to consistently use the pause to think better. You just need to create that 10-second buffer to step back and let your reasoning brain do its job. Which leaves us with one final, very provocative question. Moving forward, will you be an impulsive observer of your own life, constantly pushed around by your immediate reactions? Or will you use the cognitive pause to step into the role of the architect, carefully constructing your thoughts and shaping your reality? The choice is entirely yours, and it starts with your very next reaction. Take a breath. Take the 10 seconds. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I look forward to exploring more fascinating concepts with you next time.